When we last left off in Dragon Ball Z, we'd just been delivered a crushing defeat. Goku is dead, Gohan has been kidnapped by Goku's nemesis, and two warriors stronger than anything we'd ever seen are coming to Earth. But from every defeat comes a chance to rise from the ashes stronger. As Goku has gone on to his special training, Piccolo is determined to bring out Gohan's dormant power, and that just stall him until Goku gets here committee has reformed stronger than ever, determined to pose for even cooler group shots. However, all is not well, as Kami informs us, no matter what the outcome of the battle is, we're doomed anyway, because the Dragon Balls have less than a year to remain active. Though Kami isn't sure if it will come to the harsh cut of a ki blast on the battlefield, or the slow, gnawing agony of old age, he does know that he and Piccolo don't have much time left. The semantics don't matter, only that the next time that the Dragon Balls are used, it will be the final time. Let's talk about stakes for a minute. Stakes are why we should care in a story. Most of the time, it seems obvious what's at stake. Ever since King Piccolo, it's been the world and the lives of our main characters. A big complaint about Dragon Ball is that everything just seems stakeless because if a character dies, they can just be brought back by the Dragon Balls. But I've only ever seen this complaint thrown around by people who watch the series through TikTok and Instagram Reels, as we're told pretty early on that the Dragon Balls are only good for one revive, and even if there are some loopholes later on in the series, it's not like when a villain slimes a main character, they just stand there waiting for his buddies to grab his reboot card. Still, if that complaint was valid, this move by Toriyama raises the stakes. As with the Dragon Balls gone, everyone will be on equal footing in terms of not being able to be brought back. And even if someone does survive, they almost never get through these things without getting a huge amount of people killed in the crossfire. But even if losing our infinite 1-up glitch was the only thing at stake, this is something that goes more than skin deep. Dragon Balls have been tied to hope several times throughout the story, with Kami himself saying that he feels that if good people like Goku exist, then the Dragon Balls should keep existing. Losing the Dragon Balls symbolizes that loss of hope. If the wish-granting orbs that Kami created because he thought humanity deserved a chance to weather the storm are vanishing, then what does that say about the hope our main cast has for the future? We'll have to see for ourselves as we dive in. Hello everyone, my name is Sir Rambles-on-Alot, but you can call me Rambles-on. And thank you for joining me as we continue our Dragon Ball adventure. After 6 months of running, boy would that be torture for anyone with a short attention span, Goku finally reaches the end of Snake Way. Not talking about any of the filler, as, while it might be good for a laugh, I didn't find it contributed much to the world of Dragon Ball. If they were gonna show us the home for infinite losers, we could at the very least have gotten a Raditz cameo, considering, you know, the casual homicide he committed just a few hours before Judgment. But it's whatever. We meet this walking hook for future plot threads, and I'm not being hyperbolic. Anime filler, GT, Super, every Dragon Ball medium has used King Kai as a well to draw more stories from. Call me pedantic, but I think what makes King Kai so likable is that we finally meet someone who's strong, but doesn't feel the need to constantly smack-talk others. Every other martial arts dude we've met up until this point was super arrogant, or still made Goku go through some nonsense before they'd agree to teach him. It's refreshing to meet a master of martial arts who just wants to have a good time. And a good time we're going to have, because he has not one, but 2 new moves to teach Goku. Ooh, now you're speaking my language. I like the Kamehameha, but I think we've gotten the most mileage from it possible after all the variations we saw in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. A new signature move could really up Goku's coolness factor. The best part about this training montage is that all of it, and I mean every bit of it, from Goku to Piccolo and Gohan, and even the Earthlings, is just upping the ante with stuff we've seen before. Instead of having to invent new training techniques out of thin air, Toriyama evolves his previous training styles to stay consistent with the world. If King Kai had some new magic workout routine waiting, we'd all just be shouting, "Lazy riding, lazy riding." But instead, his training in 10 times gravity is an idea that we're already familiar with. Making yourself heavier so you get bigger gains has been a part of the series since back in the first ever training arc. And not just that, chasing Bubbles is an evolution of Korin's movement training. By the way, does Bubbles having pointed ears imply that she's from the demon realm? Is she secretly a monster in hiding? Gah, what am I saying? I'm off track now. Gohan's wilderness survival training is the exact same thing Piccolo did to catch up to Goku after he had to roll for a new character. And it's what made Yajirobe so morbidly a beast. Even the Earthlings training with Kami makes sense, since we've been told that if Karin gives someone their blessing, they can seek parley with the Guardian of Earth. But, by hook or by crook, desperate times are calling for desperate measures. So, Earth's mightiest heroes get the stamp of approval. As I said in my Piccolo Jr. Saga video, which you should go check out by the way, the human characters always getting Goku's sloppy seconds when it comes to training is why they don't catch up. None of them having the creativity to find a training method that works for them is why things always go buns up every time they have to handle a fight without Goku. They even stole his sense of fashion. Oh, in case anyone wonders how the Earthlings saw a much bigger growth in power level than Goku did from training under Kami, it's because we have statements saying Mr. Popo is actually the one who did most of Goku's training. Whereas here, we can see Kami directly supervising the Earthlings' training. In other words, Goku didn't get the full training package. Though, in hindsight, it's weird that Kami wouldn't have locked in for Goku's training, considering Piccolo planned on sliming everyone if he won the Tenkaichi Budokai. Even the new move feels familiar to us in a way, as we're shown that Genki Dama is basically the same concept as a move created by Yamcha of all people, just charged with the life energy of beings around you instead of your own ki. There's one page in particular I'd like to study amongst these training chapters. It's here, the page after King Kai finished explaining how growing up on a planet with harsh gravity and having a natural affinity for battle has made Saiyans the perfect killing machines. On the next page, we begin with a panel of Goku saying he understands the danger they're in because he too is a Saiyan. We then transfer to a panel of King Kai confused. Then we return to Earth, setting the scene with a panel of Gohan, followed by a panel of Piccolo commending Gohan on the progress he's made training. This panel layout was done very intentionally, so let me break it down. This is the first time we see Goku acknowledge his alien heritage. Goku has always been the type to take things in stride, be it losing his tail or having the Kinto wound blown up. Chalk it up to either brain damage or Saiyan ADHD, but it's not really surprising he doesn't have much of a reaction. What is worth noting though is how he uses this as a response to King Kai's claim that he has no idea what they're dealing with. Goku using his Saiyan DNA as a counterargument against King Kai's claim is as if he's saying he can't imagine how strong the Saiyans are, because strength can come from anywhere. And to prove Goku's point, we pan to his half-Saiyan son, the boy whose power briefly surpassed Raditz. No one would expect anything out of a toddler, let alone the ability to fight. And yet, Raditz, a grown man who'd lived his entire life in combat, was surpassed by an ordinary-looking 4-year-old. Well, ordinary with a tail anyway. And to top it all off, we have Gohan being congratulated by Piccolo, two unlikely allies who never would have worked together if the situation didn't force them. With all this combined, what Goku is saying becomes clear. We have Saiyans on our team too, and even though the enemy Saiyans have lived harder lives and have a head start on us in fighting experience, we are not doomed, because strength is something that can be found even in the most unlikely places. It's that mindset that we carry into battle as the Saiyans arrive on Earth. Let's talk about our new Saiyan buddies. Throughout Dragon Ball, enemies have been big. This is done mainly for intimidation purposes. If you see a big scary dude, you're gonna run. It's simple math. But Vegeta and Nappa's duality flips this dynamic on its head, with the smaller one of the two actually being the strongest, as if to say, they have no need to scare enemies away. They come bringing enough violence that they don't need to bluff. And we get a small taste of that violence, as they aren't even on Earth long enough to punch in for their shift at the Frieza Force before wiping out a small city. Out of the gate, we have already lost our shot at the good ending. We were told Kami only has one wish left in him before he dies. So the optimal outcome would have been to have the Z-Warriors beat the Saiyans before they could kill anyone. Our chance of a perfect run is already dashed, as countless lives get taken in a senseless, over-the-top fashion. And these poor people won't be getting revived like Goku. Speaking of Goku's revival, because the Saiyans were running early, Goku didn't make it back to Earth in time. This is a recurring aspect of Dragon Ball, and several other manga use this writing technique to great effect. By holding back on the heavy hitter, we the audience are left scared as to how the supporting cast will survive the onslaught. Enter the "Just Stall him until Goku gets here" committee, with sitting members Gohan, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu, with founding member Krillin and acting CEO Piccolo. I'm surprised no one talks about it, but Krillin really moves up in the world during this arc. His fall from grace started in the fortune teller Vegeta Saga, where letting his guard down got him mogged by an NPC. Things only got worse when getting the break speed off him by Goku made him realize that he was never going to become the Turtle School's #1 student. And to add insult to injury, he loses his spot as Goku's rival immediately after. Getting killed and losing out on an entire arc of character growth does him no favors. And he only got a slight aura boost when he at least made Piccolo acknowledge the strength of humans. But by then, it was just too little too late. By that point, he was already leagues below Goku, Piccolo, Kami, Popo, and Ten Shinhan. And that's not speculation. This arc confirmed Tien's power level was higher. But here, he claws his way back to the top 5 of the verse by virtue of being one of the few people still left alive. Hey, a win by default is still a win.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
The "Just Stall him until Goku gets here" committee assembles, and Krillin begins drilling Gohan for signs that he's becoming the Joker. This is fresh off Gohan being roommates with the Demon King for 6 months, so he must have all types of horror stories. But he just starts saying something really weird about Piccolo not being too bad before Piccolo cuts him off. Floating above them are Nappa and Vegeta. While we didn't know Vegeta was a prince yet, we do know what this fight is at face value. 2 individuals who have been characterized as bloodthirsty, battle-hungry warriors, whose natural aptitude for combat has resulted in them being able to push around anyone they want, standing over a cast of characters who have fought and lost endlessly, but still struggled on trying to improve. Nappa reads their power level and deduces their training was worthless if that was all they were capable of. However, Vegeta tells him not to trust the scouters, as power levels can be deceptive. I mentioned in my review of the Vegeta Saga, which you should go check out by the way, how Toriyama gave us mixed signals for whether or not we should trust power levels. I don't want to beat a dead horse because I have an entire lecture on that subject planned for the Vegeta Saga vid, so I'll just say this is more proof of power levels conflicting evidence and leave it at that. We have bigger fish to fry. Our alien invaders drop a huge bombshell. Piccolo is actually from another planet. Until he's actually from another universe. Until he's actually from another realm. We really need to leave well enough alone. Seriously, it's almost funny how Piccolo thought he was a demon, when he was actually from a race of aliens, who thought they were aliens because they'd been relocated so many times they lost their history on how they were actually demons. Piccolo got the right answer using the wrong formula. It's explained Namekians are very in touch with using magic. So in touch, some Namekians are just born naturally knowing how to do Harry Potter stuff, which is how Kami knew how to make the Dragon Balls. Not wanting to kill them before they learn more about the Dragon Balls, Vegeta outsources the interrogation work to the minion of his minion, and we get one of the biggest missed opportunities in Dragon Ball. Seriously, I understand Dragon Ball's whole thing is moving hard and fast, so I don't harp on these issues most of the time, but I just need more on the Saibamen. These things probably had more potential to shine than any other missed opportunity. Since they seem to draw power from wherever they're planted, it would be so easy to write them back into the story with cooler abilities to use. That's one of the main reasons I was so hyped for Majin Buu and Buu. We needed something else like them, or Saiba King from Dragon Ball Fusions. But, at least with the teams a little more even, we can have an in-depth fight. Tien goes first, slapping around a Saibaman with a power level of 1200, proving that Jeter was right when he said the Earthlings were concealing their power level. Yamcha goes next, and I don't even have to say it. It gets memed on so much, I think everyone has forgotten Yamcha died protecting his friends. That's the difference between the heroes and the villains. The Earthlings watch each other's back, with Yamcha offering to fight for Krillin because Krillin can't be brought back if something happens. And Piccolo steps in to save Gohan from a Saibamen. Whereas, Vegeta looks out for none of his buddies. He kills the Saibamen who couldn't defeat Tien, he kills Nappa once Nappa becomes a hindrance, and his opinion of Raditz was so low, he thought bringing Raditz back to life was a waste of a wish. Raditz, someone he'd fought beside for 2 decades. Mind you, Goku spent a wish on reviving someone he'd known for a single day. That just goes to show you the type of person Vegeta is. Even a moment of weakness is enough for him to toss you aside. After seeing Yamcha fall and knowing it should be him getting referenced in the memes, Krillin gets a huge rage boost and vaporizes a majority of the Saibamen with one ki blast. This was a mistake. The main of the game here was to buy time for Goku to show up. If they continued fighting the Saibamen one-on-one tournament style like Vegeta insisted, they might have stalled long enough that they could have prevented more deaths. Maybe even one big green death that could have brought Yamcha back, but oh well. More to the point, Gohan getting caught lacking by a Saibamen shows something important. The entire reason Piccolo trained Gohan was because he thought Gohan had the potential to kill the Saiyans with a little coaching from more experienced fighters. But this, and failing to see the Saibamen while Yamcha was fighting, makes it clear. Gohan is not ready for this. Piccolo's strategy is falling apart, and right as an actual Saiyan steps onto the field. I believe there's a lot to be learned about a character from their fighting style. Take Krillin for example. Instead of power, he focuses on creative ways he can mold ki to catch his enemies off guard. For another example, look at Raditz. Raditz only ever used generic ki blasts, despite us knowing that named attacks tend to be stronger than the user's baseline. And it's a sign that they've practiced. Nappa fights like a torpedo, not thinking much about martial arts, but instead trying to pack lethal power behind every blow. A hit from him would mean almost certain death, with the trade-off being that he's vulnerable to attacks once he starts charging. This should be an indicator of the type of fights Nappa's used to. He's never had to worry about his foes counterattacking, because they've never lived long enough to counterattack. We see a brutal display of bald-on-bald violence as Nappa goes after Tenshinhan. Tenshinhan is known for being a martial arts prodigy, someone with one of the biggest arsenals of moves out of anyone in the main cast. Nappa is his exact opposite. No moves, only violence. No, the man who was once the strongest human, the one who symbolizes the best martial arts has to offer, is being named by someone born with overwhelming strength. With Tien permanently disfigured and unlikely to ever be the fighter he once was, Chiaotzu makes the ultimate sacrifice to take Nappa down with him. Didn't work though, and Nappa emerges unscathed. Chiaotzu might have done nothing helpful in Dragon Ball, but I'll give him one thing. He had no reservations about killing himself to stall the main villain for 0.32 seconds. And more importantly, with Chiaotzu dead, the main cast has realized the day can no longer be saved. Chiaotzu has used his one revive, so now the gang has suffered its first permanent casualty. This is gut-wrenching for everyone watching. Akira Toriyama has not only made it clear that this will not be a typical good guys win the day and save everything with sunshine and smiles victory, but also upped the tension by messing with the main cast's head. At least with Yamcha, they could delude themselves by thinking they could bring him back with the Dragon Balls, but now they're confronted with an irreversible loss, and it's gripped them with despair. Piccolo makes a desperate attempt to save Tien's life by exploiting Nappa's only weakness, his inability to imagine he'd be counterattacked. He and Krillin set Gohan up for the perfect kill shot, but it's too late. Gohan has become completely gripped with fear after seeing a friend die. This is where we get our first real taste of Gohan's character. A huge theme of Dragon Ball has been self-improvement through the means of training to better parts of yourself you aren't satisfied with. We see this through Goku using martial arts as a mean to make friends, Piccolo using it to reawaken his Namekian abilities, and Vegeta using training to overcome his weakness of thinking he was the perfect warrior with no need to grow. But Gohan is the exception to this rule. Gohan didn't make the choice to begin improving himself. It was made for him because Piccolo assumed they would die if he didn't. Big Green here thought Gohan would rise to the occasion because it was the only logical thing to do if he didn't want to die. What he didn't factor into account is that Gohan is still just a kid, and kids aren't very logical. Most kids don't have the introspection to look in on themselves and see their flaws. So of course Gohan wouldn't view being scared of fighting as a weakness to overcome. He would listen to what his fear was telling him and bounce, which is what he does. And their shot to end this conflict without any more deaths passes by. Tien isn't willing to go quietly into that good night though. He mag dumps on Nappa in the form of a spirit tri-beam. We've been told that Tien's strongest attacks drain his life energy. So the fact that he created an even stronger, even more taxing life-draining attack for this battle shows you he was prepared to go all the way for his friends, following the example set by Chiaotzu. He puts all of his life energy into his attack to take Nappa down with him, but the Saiyan proves to be too strong, and Tien's life flame sputters out, accomplishing nothing. Krillin cannot believe what's unfolding in front of his eyes. This must seem like a bad dream to him, but there's no waking up from it. The three people he's known for years and trained beside non-stop have all given their lives for the cause, but their deaths ultimately didn't do anything to stop this crazy powerful enemy. And what's more, he's next. They get a stay of execution though, because Vegeta tells Nappa to pull back. It's not just enough to kill the Earthlings. Vegeta wants to toy with them before they die. 3 hours pass, during which Nappa may or may not have annihilated the media. Krillin wants to run, but Piccolo has a plan. They're gonna exploit a Saiyan's kryptonite by grabbing his tail, immobilizing him long enough for Gohan to take the kill shot. Of course, a light in the darkness. This realization gives the audience a small flicker of hope. Though it's a long shot, maybe, just maybe, the bloodshed can come to an end before any more of our favorite characters are lost. Piccolo clearly didn't learn his lesson about depending on children though, but he says it's still their only shot. Meanwhile, Goku gets back to Sanctuary and takes a flying leap off the edge of Kami's lookout. It's a nice touch that Toriyama didn't forget that Sanctuary is supposed to have a force field that repels anyone who enters uninvited, so Goku had to jump off it before he could call the Quinto Un. Toriyama forgot a lot, but occasionally, he remembered. Korin tosses in the last few senzu, and I just love the translator's note telling us to see Dragon Ball Volume 8 for more details. It's hilarious how the translator fought for his life trying to catch people up to speed when they didn't read OG Dragon Ball. Back to the fight. The gang rushes Nappa, and Piccolo grabs his tail. Hurrah! We as the audience finally think victory is within grasp. All Gohan has to do now is hit his final smash and Nappa becomes a shadow against the wall. Except, Nappa turns and delivers a mean elbow drop to the back of Piccolo's head. Just like Goku, they've strengthened their tails to the point where they are no longer weak, and all hope is lost. I just love how this weakness only affected Raditz and no one else. Vegeta and Nappa strengthened their tails until it wasn't a problem, and Goku and Gohan gave their tails the chop. Raditz was the only one bothered by this. Man, Raditz was a lazy piece of shit. Piccolo and Gohan got in too close and get the works from Nappa. Krillin gets angry and jumps in. We really don't give Krillin enough credit considering he's a key master. I think out of every character, Krillin has been the most creative with how he uses ki. Even in training for a single fight, Krillin upgraded the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. To the even stronger Scatter Kamehameha, and created the all-new Destructo Disc. The Destructo Disc would have even succeeded in chopping off Nappa's head if Vegeta didn't warn him. Let that sink in. Krillin would have killed Nappa without interference. This guy has earned his stripes. But even with all his training, Just being caught in the crossfire from one of Nappa's blasts brings Krillin's HP down to the red. It's so over. Earth is all out of fighters. But then, the man of the hour closes in. Vegeta's scouter detects Goku's baseline power level at 5,000. The Prince of all Saiyans feels fear in what's probably the first time in years, and orders Nappa to finish everyone off so they don't get jumped. And Nappa complies, starting with Gohan. And that's when you get it.
Piccolo 大の音もあろうものがガキをかばしまうなんて最低だ。
お兄さん。
もう俺とまともに喋ってくれたのはお前だけだった。貴様といたこの一年悪くなったぜ。死ぬなよ。
They say that legacy is planting seeds in a garden that you'll never get to see. When Kami revealed to us he was aware there wasn't much time left until either he passed from old age or Piccolo died in combat, he speculates that's caused a change in Piccolo and spurred him to find something to leave behind. We know Piccolo's goal has always been to conquer the world and turn it into a place where demons can run loose, so that he may pass on, after establishing a ruling class who can continue with the chaos long after he was gone. But as soon as he realized his time was almost up, Piccolo would have to come to terms with the fact that his demon world would never exist. But without that, what would be left? I believe it's that very existential crisis we see Piccolo contemplating when Raditz found him. For the 7 years he'd been alive, Piccolo had done nothing but train. But all for what? He was probably planning on just jumping Goku and at least going all out against his nemesis one last time. But then Raditz appeared, and plans changed. Defeating this new strong enemy would at least put him back on top of the totem pole, and maybe that'd be a good enough substitute for ruling the world. But even then, that plan gets wrecked when he learns that two stronger enemies are on their way. So what's next? How does he ensure his reputation lives on if he can't become the strongest? And then he spots it. Someone in need of experience. And him, with nothing but experience to pass down. It was almost too obvious. Though he insists it was purely to have as many fighters as possible on the team, Piccolo secretly wanted a part of him to continue on, even after his death. But that can't just be it. If it was purely about him, why would he ever care how Gohan felt? And that's when it hits him. This is the first time Piccolo has ever been needed. He's had kids before, kids that he cared about even, but they were just minions, deeds that only existed to glaze him. Whereas, Gohan would die without Piccolo's guidance. Piccolo had been feared, worshipped, and kissed up to even, but this is the first time he'd ever been needed. Even if he didn't know why, he did know it felt good to have someone who looked up to him with honest admiration. And now, the only eyes to ever look at Piccolo with compassion instead of hatred or in danger. The only person who ever got past Piccolo's walls and got to know him for him is about to die. And we can't have that. Gohan has done nothing but let the team down this entire fight. He's the opposite of an MVP. He's an LVP, least valuable player. But after seeing all of his friends die, all while too petrified to act, something in him snaps. Even though the boy succeeded in softening the Demon King, it doesn't mean the Demon King doesn't live on within him. And he lets it out with one mighty... Using Piccolo's signature move brings forward a burst of emotions in Gohan, skyrocketing his power to just over half of Goku's, proving that he's capable of a level of destruction that you'd expect from a creature made from Goku and Chi-Chi's DNA and raised by Piccolo. He's just too young and inexperienced to control it, making it for a great hook for a future plot thread. Problem though, he has to live long enough for there to be future plot threads. And considering Nappa is gloating about seeing the look on Goku's face when he finds his son crushed to a pulp, that seems unlikely. Suddenly, Gohan vanishes, but it's not because he's become the Flash. Goku has finally arrived, and he definitely heard that crushing his son to a pulp comment. And that's where we're gonna call it for the day. Watching Nappa destroy the Earthlings was supposed to crush our hope. Seeing Earth's strongest defenders crumble before our eyes was meant to dash the audience's spirits and make us think, if Earth's forces are falling this easily, then what hope do we possibly have of surviving and getting stronger? And to cap it all off, Piccolo's death and the loss of the Dragon Balls are meant to show that this is it. No second chances, this is our last shot. With all our ways out of this situation completely dashed, only one hope remains. And that hope is here to show you why GT stands for Goku time. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. It would mean the world to me if you'd like to continue coming along on our Dragon Ball journey. Either way, I can't wait to cover the last half of the Vegeta Saga. This has by far been the most high-energy saga yet, and it just gets better and better with every page. So I hope you'll want to keep coming along from the journey. Until then, I've been Sir Rambles-on-Alot. Don't forget to work hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty. Peace.
Calling all Saiyans. Do you want to power up your viewing experience? Now's your chance to raise your power level higher than ever before with our Super Saiyan memberships. For only 99 cents, take your viewing experience from basic to super, with early access to new videos, exclusive streams that can only be viewed with Super Saiyan eyes, and loyalty badges displayed next to your username to show off your Saiyan pride. So what are you waiting for? Buy a Super Saiyan membership today for only 99 cents.